No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You've got it.
And back on again. Ow, 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 ow. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's Truck Month. It's our favorite month of the year at Lithia Ford of Boise. Time to pick up savings, pick up power, pick up fun. And the best place to pick up yours? Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
RowPaint.com is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. It's Coach Leon Rice and Andy Rowe.
Oh, no. Want to just paint my house?
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Happy Monday to you here at Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. We're on the KTIK social media channels as well. Make sure you're subscribing to that KTIK YouTube channel for their daily video segment, as well as all the various channels on Bronco Nation News as well. It's Monday, and that means we got our man Mike Prater, host of Prater in the Ball Game, weekdays 3 to 6, also a columnist here at Bronco Nation News. And plenty to discuss from the football world, the basketball world, maybe even a little softball talk as well. A lot going on over the weekend. It was a nice weekend, I'm hoping Mike Prater got out and played some golf. I know we had a heck of a couple of hockey games over the weekend. It was a fun, sports-filled weekend. How are we doing, Mike?
Oh, it was absolutely beautiful this weekend, and I saw the video of you hanging out at softball. I didn't make it out there. That would have been fun. I'm definitely going to come out for that Mountain West tournament. Looking forward to that. Glad they snuck in. Yeah, golf, hockey, football. Holy cow, it was one of those beautiful weekends. You could justify staying indoors. You could justify going outside. This is a collision of seasons, and it was a really cool weekend, BJ.
Yeah, actually saw Bob, Teresa, John Mallory even made an appearance at the softball game on Saturday. We hung out there in right field and had a good time. My kids, RIP to my kid's pants because he slid down the little berm there about 200 times. Great. He perfected the figure 4 slide, I think, going down the hill, but ticked off some fans and probably ticked off my wife with the grass stains on the back of his pants. But it was a fun Saturday, and then came back on Sunday after they lost Saturday, came back on Sunday to see if they could clinch a spot in the conference tournament, which they did. We'll get to that. Saw Tyson Degenhardt, RJ Keene out there. Even saw the basketball staff on Saturday, excuse me, with a 7-foot recruit out there. So bringing recruits to the softball game there over the weekend. So we'll maybe dive into that as well. But again, the big story over the weekend, the NFL draft. And, oh, by the way, Mike Prater, your Golden Knights, man, that was an unbelievable game. I'm getting my days mixed up if that was Friday or Saturday. I'm sorry to bring it up since they end up losing, but they had no business even being in that game to begin with. They somehow tied up 2-2. That was incredible. I saw my man Derek Stevens right there in the front row, right behind the net. But incredible game the other night. Awesome atmosphere, and but Dallas did get the win in overtime.
I did see that. That was Saturday night, and it's crazy because I went out Saturday night with some friends, and I taped it. I didn't come back and watch it until like 11:30. I watched that sucker till like 3 a.m, and it took Dallas's best game of the entire season just to squeak out a tiny win in overtime. So I came away, because you know me, I'm the positive, happy fan. I came away thinking that's a good sign for Vegas, because Vegas just played its regular game. Dallas played out of its butt and barely won that game. Long term, that's good for the Knights. Hopefully they can take care of business tonight, BJ.
Watching some of those saves and the barrage of shots, and you look up and the shots were like 17-4, whatever it was, reminded me of Game 7 of the Blues Stanley Cup final against Boston, where Boston was just peppering, and Binnington made some amazing saves, and the next thing you know, boom, 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 and it's like, the other Boston's thinking they should be up 2 or 3 goals, and it's the Blues going up by 2 or whatever into intermission. I mean, and so I thought for sure Vegas was going to win that game, but there were some good games yesterday. How about Nashville blowing the lead with 6 seconds left to the Canucks, and then the Canucks win in overtime? That it was some good action, and it's some good NBA playoff action as well. So playoffs in full swing in the NBA and the NHL, and I know you guys will be all over that coming up 3 to 6 on Idaho Sports Talk. But locally, the big story, the NFL draft. Mike Prater, the 14-year streak does come to an end. We were worried that it might. We're hoping George Holani could sneak in there in the 6th or 7th round. It doesn't happen. But he signs what appears to be a pretty good deal, a $15,000 signing bonus and a $100,000 guaranteed contract, at least for now, to get some guaranteed money. It looks like for George Holani as an undrafted free agent with the Seattle Seahawks. Cade Beresford also had the Seahawks deal, but then added a mini camp with his was a mini camp tryout undrafted thing, not quite as good as Holani's. And then he also got another one ahead of that with the Saints. So he's got 2 opportunities now. If the Saints don't like him, he can go with the Seahawks or vice versa. So good to see Cade Beresford at least get a shot. I, to this point, Mike, have not seen anybody else. There was a weird, erroneous report about Shea Oladipo signing a deal with the Minnesota Vikings when he's still on Boise State's team for another year. I don't know what happened, where that came from. But unless I missed somebody, those were the 2. And I guess we'll start with the streak ending. 14 years, it's over. I mean, how big of a deal is that?
Oh, probably not that big a deal. I mean, I personally didn't think George Holani would get drafted this weekend. We thought we was kind of on the edge there, and it's nice. It's nice, but you can always come back and say, I mean, the last time it happened was 2009, and I believe that was a pretty good run by Boise State, that 2008 to 2011 window. And so it didn't happen in 09, and Boise State was just fine. Now you can say they've had draft picks in 17 of the last 19 drafts, or whatever that number is. It's still a pretty magical, pretty powerful number. We know that there's a big old carrot at the end of the rainbow next year. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about Ashton Ginty and his draft chances next year. So that's going to be out there hanging around as well. But it just goes to show you the decline of NFL talent when it comes to Boise State, and not only Boise State, the Mountain West. Are you kidding me? Boise State, I mean, the Mountain West has 2 players drafted. That's an all-time low. A safety out of Air Force, and then Mo Kamara, the edge rusher out of Colorado State. So that is not good. And I'm more worried about the talent drain in the Mountain West than I am at Boise State. Boise State football is going to be just fine. Will the gap between Boise State talent, NFL types talent, and Power 5 talent continue to increase? Probably. That's the nature of what's going on. But the Mountain West has got a bigger issue, if you ask me. If I'm Gloria Nevarez, man, 2 people drafted out of your entire conference, that is not good.
And I don't think the first one went till the 5th round, right? 5th or 6th round. So it's 2 late round picks at that. So yeah, that's certainly something. And we're kept, tracking the running backs coming off the board on Saturday, hoping there was a way George Holani sneaks in. He doesn't. I'm sure Johnny and Jay Tust and all the Seahawk fans watching this show and around the valley were pumped to see that's where George and then Cade both ended up. But I'd be lying if I said I knew every, the depth chart perfectly on the Seattle Seahawks, Mike. But what do you make of the opportunity that George Holani is going to get? As I said, he did get not a tryout deal. He gets a straight free agent deal. Now, that doesn't mean anything. He goes into OTAs. They can still add guys and cut guys. I mean, it doesn't mean he's any kind of locked into anything. But he, at least for now, gets the signing bonus, gets a $100,000 guaranteed contract, and he'll get a chance to prove himself to try to make that roster. George Holani, Seattle Seahawks. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so much worried about it in terms of a depth chart standpoint. I'm not sure we'll ever see George Holani carry the football in the National Football League. I guess we'll see, but to me, it's more like, special teams, and I suppose if he could stick around. The fact that he got the free agent deal tells me he's going to stick around all the way up until the very end. If they're investing $115,000 in him, he's definitely going to be with them all offseason. He's definitely going to be with them in camp in August. He might be one of those guys flirting with the practice squad roster or the numbers cut or the roster stuff late in the offseason, but he's going to get a chance. He's going to be there the entire summer. He's got 120 days to prove himself as an NFL football player. Try to sneak on this roster as a special teams guy. We know that George Holani can do special teams. We saw him do it pretty well. And can he do enough in practice? Can he do enough in maybe a preseason game or two just to get himself some notice in the backfield? But I wouldn't worry about the depth chart. He's never going to crack the depth chart. I think they have Walker and Charbonnet, if I remember right off the top of my head. So it's not like it's a great running back room. I mean, Kenneth Walker is a pretty damn good running back. Charbonnet is a pretty good plan B. If George Holani can somehow sneak into 3 or 4 or 5, that's great. But I'm not worried about that right now. He just has to make the roster as a special teamer, and he's going to get that chance. That money, at least, if nothing else, gives him a chance to stick with this team all the way up until Labor Day. After that, we'll see what happens.
Hey, if it doesn't work out in the NFL, I'd take him on my Battlehawks there, man, for sure. We could, no, I really am hoping it works out for him, and I think he is a guy that just, as we're going to talk about in a minute with Cade Beresford, just needs a chance to get his foot in the door and see what he can do. And you mentioned special teams, the punt return game, some of the other things maybe that he can do. This is a really dumb, bad question, but I'll just throw it out there just to get your response, Mike Prater. But like the fact that he didn't get drafted, and which we didn't think was going to happen anyway, like is there any 1% part of it that says he should have come back for the year he could have at Boise? I guess he wouldn't have had. No, he didn't have it. He didn't have it. We thought he did, and we found out he didn't. So it was even worse question than I anticipated it being when I asked it.
It's Monday morning. I get it. It's Monday morning.
It kept flipping back and forth about whether or not he was going to have that extra year, and I was thinking about this, going, man. And then it turns out we found out in like December he didn't have another year, so he couldn't come back. So we'll. That's the beauty of this being live. I can't go take the last 30 seconds out. So that was my first dumb question in a while. It happens. Even the pros like me, we have an occasional bad question, Mike Prater. So
I'll upstage that one here later on in the show. I'll come up with something even worse.
Jason I was kind of doing two things at once, but he liked my Meridian Youth baseball hat there, so I was feeling good about the hat and then asking a dumb question at the same time. So George Holani did not have a year left, didn't have any choice, had to go, and does not get drafted, gets the free agent deal, Seattle Seahawks. And again, as you said, running backs, it is what it is. The shelf life is pretty short in the NFL for a running back, but if he can try to find his way on as a special teams guy, a return guy, maybe there's an opportunity there. So good luck to George Holani. I hope he kills it. It'd be a cool story, with being in Seattle. And then a short time after that, we saw Cade Beresford, a Seattle guy, local, Northwest guy, get to sign with his hometown team, I believe like a rookie mini camp type, tryout type thing. And then the next day we find out, the Saints also want to bring him in. And I can remember some other guys like this where the tryout mini camps are different weekends, and it's just you're trying out with them, but that doesn't preclude you from going to a tryout with another team either. And so he'll go to the Saints and then he'll go to the Seahawks, or I'm not sure which one is first. But he tweeted, all I needed was a chance. And again, started every game, I believe, at right tackle for Boise State, came over with some experience there in the Pac-12. In terms of a college player and what he brought to Boise State, I thought he was a very steady, solid presence. I know the Pro Football Focus numbers. He didn't give up very many sacks at all, was just not very many penalties, was just a solid Mountain West right tackle. And we were kind of unsure how that would translate. I know the numbers were pretty good from his career best. He told us at Pro Day. He was very impressed with his numbers and how he did. And I don't think we thought he was going to get drafted, but we thought, maybe a free agent deal, at least at a minimum, a tryout. He gets 2 tryouts. Again, if I knew every offensive line depth chart in the country, whatever, I told you I'd be lying. But what do you make of Cade Beresford, I guess, at least getting 2 tryout chances here? Yeah,
I mean, it's the chance that he wanted, and it's a long shot at this point. These things usually don't work out. I wish I knew the numbers in terms of the percentage of guys that just get these tryouts. He's got 2 days. Twice to prove it with one of these teams to see if he can jump on a roster. Every NFL roster right now, you can carry 90 players. There's no practice squad. There's no IR. It's just one big giant roster with 90 players, and he just has to figure out a way to work himself onto one of those rosters. I would say it's very much a long shot. These minicamp tryouts, these rookie tryouts, it's literally just a tryout to come in. It's almost like an extended pro day. And with a little bit more specific tryouts and some drills that he'll do to try to make the team. So I can't wait to see if he can make it. I'm not sure if they're both later on this week or this weekend, and maybe over the next 10, 12 days are these tryouts. So we'll certainly keep an eye on him. I would guess that Cade Beresford is probably not going to land on a football team, but he's been steady and he's been really good. I don't think he has a superpower, but he's steady and dependable. And if somebody has some flexibility on their offensive line, and you're right, I haven't studied Seattle's offensive line. I haven't studied the Saints offensive line, but they're bringing him in for a reason because they need some offensive line help. And if he could somehow get their attention over these next couple of days, that'd be pretty cool.
And I know I joke about it, and you get people get like you and Johnny, whatever, give me crap for the UFL, XFL, whatever you want to call it. But there have been some guys in the last couple of years that have gone that route and worked their way back to the NFL at different times, and been some pretty cool stories. And you mentioned the 90 players. They don't, they used to have Mike in the NFL every week they'd go down to 70, then 60, then final cuts. Now it's just one big cut at the end, I believe, where it's like 90 down to 53 or whatever. And so there's just 1,500 players getting poured into the free agent pool in early September, late August, whenever it is. And so, they built a league like the UFL where they combine those two leagues to try to give guys a chance that don't make an NFL roster, and then show teams what they can do, get some tape and work their way back up. And so that's another 400 roster spots. So you think about guys like Holani, guys like Beresford that are hoping for an opportunity to stick with an NFL team, but there are other opportunities out there to keep playing football. And hopefully if by the end of the summer, the tryouts, whatever, don't work out, hopefully they can continue their pro career however possible. You got the Canadian League, whatever, and then just keep grinding and trying to work their way back up. And I believe, I kind of thought Steph Cobbs would get some kind of chance, and maybe that could still come in terms of a tryout. Billy Bowens, I think, would have gotten one for sure had he not gotten hurt. He was having just an amazing pro day. But is there anybody, Cobbs, Bowens, anybody else that you thought might at least got a tryout or get some sort of chance, or is this what you were thinking?
Yeah, no, this is exactly what we were thinking. Cobbs was the one guy that we thought might have a chance, and we saw him run around, and we saw him in Dallas doing some special teams work, in terms of working out a couple of weeks ago. So, Cobbs, that's probably not a good sign for the wide receiver class moving forward, the Capels and those kinds of guys moving forward. I know we're going to talk a little bit about, Boise State possibilities on this roster going into next year's draft. And Capels, that's probably a little bit sobering, in terms of where these guys ended up or didn't end up in terms of Cobbs and Billy Bowens, who, as you said, had that knee injury at pro day. So Capels, this might be a motivating factor for him. He needs to go out and just have a monster season. A lot of that's not in his hands. He's in a deep wide receiver room with an offensive coordinator who's going to run the ball more than anything else. So maybe that's a little bit humbling for a guy like Steph Cobbs moving forward. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Capels moving forward. I'm not sure Steph Cobbs really had a chance here. And I'm just glad that Holani got a big time chance and Beresford got a little bit of a chance. And we'll see what happens after that.
We'll see. Some of those free agent deals or the tryout deals still do leak into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll see if Steph Cobbs can land on anywhere for a tryout in the coming summer right away this weekend, summer the following weekend. There's a couple, I think, that are, not for 2 more weekends. But we'll see if anybody else can latch on. And again, Holani, congrats getting the free agent deal. Beresford's going to get a couple tryouts, and we'll be tracking all that moving forward. I do want to talk about next year's draft class, Mike Prater. I also haven't talked to you since the news of CJ Tiller transferring, and then maybe a little basketball, softball. We got a lot still to discuss here in the final second half of the show. But I first do want to thank a couple of our great sponsors. Cutwater Spirits, more than 35 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails. You can pick one up at your local gas station or grocery store. It's like 2 for $7. Great deal. Highly recommend the Long Island, the margaritas, the pina colada is great as well. Perfect for your next game day tailgate. It's Cutwater Spirits. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com. They've painted our house. They've done our floors in the garage, in the back patio. Highly, highly recommend the folks at rowpaint.com. And I can tell you, as we're looking to sell our home here, we've had numerous comments about how much it's helped the concrete coatings on our back patio and our garage in terms of just making our house look really, really nice. So highly recommend them. Check them out. Tell them that you heard about it on Bronco Nation News. They'll hook you up with a great deal. ROEpaint.com for all your painting needs. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. You see Tyson Degenhart there. You heard on the Tyson Degenhart show last week that, as expected, he and Omar Stanley are officially returning to Boise State. ICCU.com, all your banking needs. We're using them for our mortgage on our new house. We're using them for all of our business, personal banking. Highly recommended. I'm so thankful we made the switch, but I'm also so kind of mad at myself that I didn't realize how good Idaho Central Credit Union was. So we're just so happy we made the switch, and you can too. All your banking needs at ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher Real Estate, the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley for a reason. Just had his birthday, Mike Prater, on Friday, and I was really mad to find out he's only 39 years old. Matt Bauscher is doing some big things right now, and super pumped for my friend and our sponsor and partner here at Bronco Nation News and Bauscher Real Estate is helping us buy a home, helping us sell a home. Him and Kelly and the whole staff doing a tremendous job, and we're super thankful for the Bauscher team. And you can check them out, BauscherRealEstate.com. And again, no home too big or too small. He'll sell the $5 million ones, but he'll sell any size home, including our small house here. So check them out, BauscherRealEstate.com. And of course, our friends at Ridley's Family Markets, 14 locations around the state of Idaho. Shop Ridleys.com. You can get more information. Download that Skip app. You get savings up to 40% at the checkout line. And there's other stores in surrounding states. So again, shop Ridleys.com to find that location near you. Okay, Mike Prater, we mentioned the softball game. I want to go ahead and throw this in there. We were out at the softball game yesterday. The Broncos do clinch a spot. So they are now in the Mountain West tournament. And again, they first place last year. So they were able to host this year as long as they were able to get lights. You guys were out there and did a show. You guys threw out first pitches. You threw a better first pitch than $1 million football coach. And you saw it firsthand, the crowd they had for that Washington game. And when Spencer Danielson was there, and just they set the attendance record this year for the per game average again. 100 wins already for Coach Schultz in his 3 years. Like, the program is continuing to move in the right direction, and they were able yesterday to clinch a spot in the conference tournament. They won 8-4 over New Mexico. They took the series on Senior Day. Beautiful day, beautiful weekend for some softball, and again, they will host the conference tournament in 2 weeks. They have 3 games left here against Colorado State coming up this weekend on the road, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they will be back to host the conference tournament. I had a chance to catch up. Let's hear a quick bite or two from Justin Schultz, the head coach, on the Senior Day win and now getting a chance to qualify for the conference tournament.
Great. That's been our season all year. I think the resiliency piece has been there for us. We're young, but for our seniors to go out with a W today, that was huge. We've been in every single ball game in the Mountain West. We're right there, and so hopefully we can start piecing together some good games and get ready for the Mountain West tournament.
I know you had another weekend left. Things could happen, but just to have it locked up and be in and know that you're hosting it and you get to be in it, how's it feel?
Yeah, it feels great. I think from a health standpoint, we got to go look and see what other teams in the conference did from a seeding perspective, but I think Taylor's pitched a lot. Jenna's looking really, really sharp. So for us to be clinched and maybe not have to overexert ourselves next weekend, depending on seeding and stuff, that's huge because we can be fresh and healthy for the tournament.
And is it the way this it's all set up, there's no dominant team, it seems like? I mean, do you feel like all it took was getting in and you have as good a shot as anybody?
Oh, 100%. You look at the top 6 teams that are all clinched now, I believe. And I think anyone in the conference at this point could win this tournament. It's a very, very small margin for error. And honestly, I've fought hard for this conference to get better top to bottom, and they've done a great job top to bottom this year. We're much better. Our RPIs are higher, and so it's going to be a fun tournament.
Just maybe record-wise or whatever, maybe you're not right where you thought you'd be or wanted to be, but now to be in the tournament and have as good a chance as anybody and still do exactly what you wanted to do when the season started, how do you just feel overall about where you guys are at?
Yeah, we're in a good spot. We're young, like I said. We keep going back, and if you want to really nitpick our record, we've played a tough schedule. It's the one-run ball games. I think that's where we could easily be 35, 36, and whatever. We've lost a lot of those one-run ball games, and that's just part of the learning and the growing pains of having a young team. But I think we're battle-tested, and if you look at the last 20 games we've played, every single game has been tight, and I think that's going to play to our benefit in the postseason.
Justin Schultz, Boise State has a lot of just good dudes also that are coaches, and a lot of the Olympic sports with Jim Thomas, a soccer coach, and you go down the line, and Justin Schultz certainly fits that mold there. He's played in the golf tournament the last couple of years and just likes taking some of the jabs and can give it back, and he's a good dude. And again, it was going to kind of be a disaster scenario if in the first year of them hosting the tournament they didn't even make it, and so they've turned it on, and they were kind of just kind of really close to clinching for the last couple of weeks and finally got it done here, and so they are in. And as I said, the 2 top teams Boise State split with in the regular season, so there's no doubt they can do that, and so we'll see. They get to the only problem is they don't. We'll talk about this next week, but they don't get a bye. If you're in the 3 through 6 range, you got to play in the first day, and then it's just single elimination. You're out if you lose the first game. But if you can get by that first game, they go from 6 down to 4, and then it becomes a 4-team double elimination tournament the rest of the weekend on Friday and Saturday. So we'll talk more about it next week, and probably get Coach Schultz on the show. But They're in, Prater, and I said you were out there. You've seen the lights, the new scoreboard they brought over from the football stadium. I mean, they're softball. I know everybody talks about football and basketball, but there's a lot of other sports here at Boise State that Jeremiah Dickey's trying to continue to elevate, and softball is one of those that does look like it's still going in the right direction.
Yeah, really cool experience. Really cool experience, and I can't wait to see what what they can do in that tournament. I know Coach has always been a little bit challenged this year with some pitching depth, and maybe that's the wrong thing to take into a tournament, but it sounds like they might be on a roll and determined to get some stuff done. So I like Schultz. I like what he does. How's my girl Sydney Groves doing? She's the big home run hitter, and her grandfather used to play basketball at CSI when I was a ball boy at CSI. So I've always kind of followed her, the first baseman. Big, beautiful swing. I'm assuming she's healthy and still doing great things out there, BJ?
Yeah, tied for the team lead, I believe, 16 home runs, I think it is, or something. So, she's doing well. And Sophia Knight, the freshman, I know Jay Tuss had a much better video than I did, but amazing Sports Center top 10 type play, robbing a 3-run homer yesterday. So my kids were the only two. My kids and the New Mexico fans were the only disappointed people in the entire building because we were in the outfield, and when the ball was hit, my 9-year-old Naismith had just a perfect track on it. He was shooting across the outfield, and my son was about to have a souvenir on a softball. They probably make you give it back. I don't know. And he's literally almost ready to be waiting under it. And then Sophia Knight skies the wall and robs a 3-run homer and takes it away from a 9-year-old kid. I mean, come on. How could you possibly do that? But I told him he was so disappointed in the whole game. They're trying to get. I said, we can probably go get you a softball if you really want one. Like it's not that big of a deal. But amazing catch, 3-run bomb. You can check their softball feed, and Jay Tussin had a great view of it as well, robbing a 3-run bomb and helping Boise State softball win. So again, we'll keep you updated moving forward, but they do clinch the tournament. They will host the Mountain West tournament in Boise here in 2 weekends, and so we'll talk about more about that moving forward. Basketball, before we get back to football, since we're on random topics here, there were a couple ask questions, comments. Dylan Anderson committing. BJ, I will say that I don't know what the coaches want me to say. Who knows? But I was a fan. I was at the softball game on Saturday, and I did see the whole entire coaching staff with Dylan Anderson. They stopped by the softball game. Looked like his parents were with them. He is a 7-footer from Arizona. Arizona Wildcats transfer, a 7-footer, actually redshirted. If everybody remembers, they had Ballo, the big center that was one of the top players, in the country last year. And they had another guy, and so he wasn't going to get a ton of playing time this year, and he just decided to redshirt and save his year of eligibility and work on his game. So apparently got a lot better during his redshirt year as a true 7-footer that can shoot from the outside as well. Was supposed to get minutes this year for Arizona, but elected to transfer and is got Boise State as one of his finalists and visited over the weekend. And I believe out of high school, he was a 2-time Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year, and his 2 finalists were either Gonzaga or Arizona. And when Tommy Lloyd went to Arizona, I think he went to Arizona with Tommy Lloyd. So he's an intriguing prospect. Not sure if he'd come in and start and bump Omar up, or if he'd be the 6th man, this year. But the big thing about him is he has 3 years of eligibility left, so he would be primed to take over a major role moving forward in 2 years. So I heard the visit went pretty well, but I haven't seen or heard him commit. I don't know what happened on that, but for the folks that, are a little worried about the 4 roster spots being left on the basketball. I mean, they had multiple transfers visiting over the weekend. They're still out there working Mike Prater, and we'll see what it looks like, but they are by no means done with the roster right now, and they obviously know the holes they need to fill, and they're out there hosting visits and doing what they can to try to improve the roster.
Yeah, no off season anymore with those 4 roster spots open, as you talked about, and it tracks so well. It's crazy right now. They've got so much work to do over these next couple of weeks, and I know they've been grinding really hard the last couple of weeks. So I don't follow the detail of these guys as much as you do. I have some friends that are just really, really, they're on pins and needles, and they're just living and dying by this transfer portal and what Boise State basketball is doing or not doing right now. So I know that there's some people interested, but we'll see how it shakes out. Signing 4 new players over these next couple of weeks, that is dramatically going to change your basketball program, and it's probably a position they don't want to be in. There's no way Leon wants to go off and fill 4 or 5 spots every single year, and right now, him and his staff are absolutely grinding. I'm glad his staff is staying together. If you had that with a limited staff, that certainly would be an issue. He's got a veteran staff, and Duryea and Burns and everybody else on this team. In terms of this program. So hopefully they can get some stuff done, and maybe we'll get some news sometime this week.
Yes, and just to throw in, because I had the question yesterday, Mike Prater, I know you know this, I know most fans know this, but for some that don't, the transfer portal closes tomorrow night at midnight. Tomorrow night at midnight is when it closes, so this is the final 36 hours or whatever that folks can put their name in the portal and say that they are leaving their current school, but you do not have to have your new school picked really anytime. You could go all through May, June, July, whenever you want. The deadline tomorrow night at midnight is just that you are entering the portal. So this is where Boise State would theoretically have 36 hours to hang on to any more current players on their roster, and then any other player has to decide if they want to transfer or not. They have to put their name in. But there is no reason to be, more worried that, oh my gosh, Boise State has 4 spots left and only 36 hours to fill them. That's not how it works. They have all of May, all of June, and they will, maybe this is a little later than last year in terms of the timing on some of these things, but obviously Buzo left late, Anderson left kind of late. They weren't expecting to have 2 extra spots. And so I would also caution that. So again, just to clarify, players have to enter the portal by midnight tomorrow. They do not have to pick a new school. So there will be visitors this coming weekend, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, plenty of time to add to the roster. I also don't think they're going to use all 4 players, Mike Prater, on impact guys for this season. I mean, they're going to lose a lot of starters with Buzo already gone, and then you're going to lose Stanley. You're going to lose Degenhart after this season, this season coming up. There's multiple guys you're going to lose. Cardenas is only a 1-year guy. So they're going to need to have, you talk about having a completely different roster. Next year's roster is going to look completely different. And so I think guys like Anderson that might be a contributor, but not like a dominant starter, but maybe give you 15 minutes off the bench or something this year, but then could be a key starter next year. I think they're going to probably try to get multiple guys like that because they now need to be thinking about next year as well. Wouldn't even surprise me if they bring in a guy that could either redshirt or know he's probably not going to play much at all this year, just because they have to fill roster spots for next year also. So we'll be tracking all that moving forward. Again, Dylan Anderson, saw him at the game with my own eyes. I think it's fair to report that. So sorry, coaches, if that upsets you, but he was here, 7-footer on a visit from Arizona. And again, we'll see how it goes. Haven't heard anything. And I will say this, I've heard a couple rumblings about the schedule, Mike Prater, also. It's going to be another challenging schedule, I think, and there's a intriguing game or two I've heard of that could be in the works that I think would really excite some Boise State fans. I know it's not Idaho. It's a high-level type team that would be kind of fun, and no, it's not in Boise. But I think we'll just I guess the final message on basketball is not to be their publicist here, Mike Prater, but they're fans are a little upset, nervous. What's going on? Lost some of these guys. They have a plan and they've got a track record and they're still working, to try to improve this roster. So let's hold the final judgment on what this roster looks like for a couple more weeks here until they're done doing what they can. Because if they can get a couple guys they really want, I still think that they feel the roster is going to be in very strong shape here moving forward with the basketball roster. So let's get back to football for the final 10 minutes or so that we have here, Mike Prater. And I want to talk specifically next year's draft and what the conversation is going to be next year in terms of this football team and how many guys could get drafted, because we know it's at least going to be one, and we'll do that in just a second. I need to thank Lithia Ford of Boise, LithiaFordBoise.com. They got NIL deals with 6 student athletes at Boise State, including 4 football players. Return the favor, folks. They're one of the biggest supporters of Boise State. Next time you're looking to buy a new car or truck, please support our sponsors and consider our friends over at Lithia Ford of Boise. If you're looking for a job, Taco Bell is hiring. You get half your wages the next day after your shift and free food while you wait. So a lot of times that first paycheck, you got to wait 3 or 4 weeks, not at Taco Bell. So if you need some quick cash, get a job, get paid right after your first shift, and they'll hire you, and it's a great working environment. And you get free food while you work. Food's good, too. So if you're just looking for a meal, lunch today, dinner, highly recommend our friends over at Taco Bell. And again, the SON Management Group, the Nicolason family, we appreciate them. TacoBellWorks.com. Boise State gear, you need some new gear. The official coaches' sideline apparel, the sweatshirts, the hats, the polos, they got it at the Blue and Orange Store. You can check them out, theblueandorangestore.com, where you can get free shipping on any order over $40, or you can just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there, the second floor next to Pro Image. And again, an entire store full of gear and clothes and apparel for Boise State athletics. So check them out at the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. And I mentioned looking for a job. I know the trucking industry is booming right now. Our friends over at Transportation Compliance Service, it's a Meridian local-based company here that helps folks all around the United States. And so if you're looking for a new job, maybe consider the trucking industry. It's a very independent, you're out on your own. You can listen to your music, podcast, whatever. And if you're, looking to kind of get out on your own, the trucking industry is a great one right now. So they can help you with the DOT, overweight permits, everything you need to get out there towing that first load in no time. Check them out, transcompservice.com. And Mike Prater, we got the golf tournament coming up. I was out at Timberstone. I did sneak out a week ago last Monday, shot my first round in about 8 months. And I can say that I broke I kept it in double digits. We didn't quite get to triple digits, but it was not a great first round of the year. I know you've snuck out some rounds already, but that was my first time getting out to Timberstone in a while. And the new carts they have, the new water stations they have, the biggest thing for me, of course, for my fat ass was the food. They have the upgraded trailer now with burgers and all kinds of salads and wraps. It's not just the old hot dogs anymore. And you can call in on the 7th or 8th hole and have a whole meal ready to go when you make the turn there at hole 9. So Timberstone Golf Course, playtimberstone.com. Highly, highly recommend them. And again, we only have one foursome left in the morning, and we have some foursomes in the afternoon, but space is limited. Spencer Danielson, some football players, some basketball coaches, players. It's going to be a lot of fun. Join us May 31st. Don't wait. Some folks are saying, I'm trying to get my team together. No, get your spot locked in and then go find your friends, because we're filling up and it's going to be full. And again, Timberstone Golf Course, May 31st, the 3rd annual Bronco Nation News Golf Tournament. You can email me, rains@bronconationnews.com, or you can just go to bronconationnews.com/golf to get more information. But we are just about a month away right now, Mike Prater. I hope you're really focusing in and locking in and getting ready, because your team's going to need you here in about a month.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm focused. I'm locked in. I played a lot of golf this weekend. I've been practicing. I've been playing a lot so far this year. So I've been out about a half dozen times already, and 3 or 4 different courses around the valley. And as long as the wind stops, I'm a little tired of playing golf in the wind. I'm an old Twin Falls guy where the wind never stops blowing. So I got a little I don't like the wind, and there's been too much wind. So I'm guessing by the 31st of May, when we get out there to Timberstone, it's going to be a beautiful day, no wind, an absolutely perfect day. But I'm not sure I can bring the perfect golf game. We'll give it our best shot, though, BJ.
See, I kind of like the wind, so I have a built-in excuse when I shoot 105 or whatever. I can just say, it was a 30-mile-an-hour wind. I would have shot 89 if not for 30 miles. 6 of my shots ending up in the next fairway to the right because of the wind, not just because of my huge slice or whatever it is. But no, it was a beautiful day out there. Kelly, Tad, the whole staff, they do a tremendous job out there. And like I said, that the new, I don't know if you've been out there lately, Mike, but that new food truck, Chef Wally set it up for them. They got a big truck out there, and Chef Wally helped them install it and build it. And they now have burgers and wraps and salads and chicken sandwiches and all kinds of stuff, and it's ready right when you make the turn. And so the best course in the valley got even better. So highly recommend Timberstone Golf Course. Play Timberstone.com, and again, sign up for that golf tournament, bronconationnews.com/golf before we sell out here. Okay. Ashton Genty is pretty much a lock, a given, health permitting, Mike Prater, that he can get drafted in next year's draft. I've seen a couple big boards already come out in mock drafts, and he is, at least to me, on a couple of the ones I've seen, solidly a top 50 player in next year's NFL draft. I've seen him right around that 40 mark, right around, top 10 picks of the second round right now, and that's before what we believe is going to be a monster season for Ashton Genty if he can stay healthy. What do you think the chances are? I mean, do we think there's a realistic chance here if he can do what we think he can do this year, that Ashton Genty could be in Green Bay as a first round? And again, I say that because the draft next year is in Green Bay, not that he's going to the Packers, but they're doing the draft in Green Bay. I had to look it up just to see if there was a chance I'd get to go, Mike Prater. Am I going to be going to the draft to cover Ashton Genty? Is he a first? Do you think he can sneak into the first round?
I do not. I do not. As a matter of fact, as we sit here today, and I know I'll get beat up for this, I'm not even sure he's going to be a second-day guy. And I'm just going to give you the harsh reality. We love Ashton Genty around here. He is a guaranteed lock to get into the NFL playoff or the NFL draft if he stays healthy and does even just the basics of what he's supposed to do. But Ashton Genty has the biggest label that nobody around here ever remembers. And it's real, guys. He's a group of 5 running back. And those are some of the dirtiest words in football right now. 1, group of 5, and 2, running back. Come on, man. Only 1 running back went in the entire first 2 rounds of this entire draft. And that's the top, 64, 65, 66 players. And only 1 of them did. That's a Power 5 running back out of Texas. And for Ashton Genty to be that guy, to come out of this draft as a group of 5 running back, to be that guy, to be the first guy, to even be the second guy, I'm not sure I buy it. As he sits right now, there's 3 or 4 other running backs in front of him in terms of what they did last year, like the Ollie Gordons and a couple of others. I know that USC's got one. Ohio State's got a couple. Texas has got another one. There's another really good one, the Edwards kid at the University of Michigan. So there are already about 5 Power 5 running backs out there who have established the same kind of foundation that Ashton Genty has. And for every yard that those guys run, Ashton Jeanty has to run for 2 or 3 more yards because of the group of 5 label. And the running back label doesn't help anybody when it comes to this draft. There was 20 running backs taken, 1 in the second round, 3 and there was only 4 taken until Saturday. 4. So you're telling me Ashton Jeanty has to be one of the 4 best running backs, and not only that, prove that he can beat the group of 5 or shed the group of 5 label. That's a tough task, even for a guy like Ashton Jeanty. So I'm really bullish when it comes to group of 5 running backs in the NFL draft. And he's got top second-round talent. There's no doubt about it, maybe even first-round talent. But the reality is that's not where group of 5 running backs go. I'm going to sit here today and say that Ashton Jeanty will go early on Saturday morning next year, and he can only get better, and we'll see what he can do this football season.
As I'm sure you can expect, they're loving the take on the chat here, Mike Prater. But you also got to throw in the fact that what running, let's look at Boise State's running back history in the draft also. There's been numerous times where guys have fallen 2, 3, 4 rounds later than we all thought they would. The Jay Ajayi's, Jeremy McNichols, I guess Alexander Madison, did he end up going 3rd round? Or I don't remember his round, but he was higher up, I think, than but most of the running backs that have come out at Boise State, at least since I've been here covering the team, it seems like we're sitting there late on Saturday going, man, someone's going to get a steal with this guy. How has this guy not been picked yet? So Boise State has not, even though they've had guys drafted, they have not had a ton of success in terms of the spots. I know Doug Martin obviously got into the 1st round, but I mean, they haven't had a lot of these guys are going 5th, 6th, 7th round.
Absolutely. Madison went just about where we thought he'd go, and that was an outlier, and that was good. So Madison, certainly a 3rd round draft pick. But after that, it's Ajayi and McNichols, both in the 5th round. I know Doug went in 1st round, and that's kind of the recent history. Boise State's had 4 of these guys, and 2 of them went as expected or higher. 2 of them went lower than we thought. So there's that 50-50 ratio. We know Ashton Jeanty is very, very special, but I'm not going to sit here and just buy into preseason hype because we have been disappointed. That's one of the reasons why I said George Holani is not going to get drafted. I took a little bit of a beating on that last week. I know a lot of people felt that George Holani was going to be a reach, even here in Boise, Idaho, but there was no way George Holani was going to be drafted. He was the 25th, 26th, 27th ranked running back. And unless they're taking 30 running backs, and they just don't do that anymore, that's not going to happen. So Ashton Jeanty's going to get his shot. He needs to be healthy. He's going to, it doesn't really matter. Does it matter if he's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, I guess it would matter if he's a 1st rounder. That's a pretty big time deal, but he just needs to get into the league and healthy. But I'm not going to buy the preseason hype because he's a group of 5 running back, and group of 5 running backs are treated differently for some weird reason.
Chris Ward in the chat here. He agrees with you, but he doesn't like that he agrees with you. He says, take Prater's knee. Boo. And then he said, he's being realistic, though. You're being realistic, and is what he says. So.
Yes. I mean, I love Ashton Jeanty. Make him the 1st round pick overall, number 1 overall. He deserves it. He loves it. He deserves everything that he has coming to him. And if Ashton Jeanty just keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be fine. But let's not attach crazy offseason hype to a group of 5 running back. We're fabricating that. It doesn't exist. And when we bring that stuff up, we're just fabricating it. And I get it. It's part of the fandom. It's part of the fun. And I can't wait to keep this argument going for the next, 11 and a half months. It's going to be really fun to see how it all shakes out. But he's a group of 5 running back, period. End of conversation.
So the Heisman campaign they have going, you feel similar to that probably?
I did, and I said this on the show a couple weeks ago. I have stopped calling him a Heisman Trophy candidate. For about a month there, I got caught up in that. And I made a significant choice, and I said it on the show at Idaho Sports Talk, and I'm going to stick with it. I am not calling him a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's not. Group of 5 running backs are not Heisman Trophy candidates in May. It just doesn't exist, guys. Yep. You're fabricating that in your head. He is not a Heisman Trophy candidate. When was the last group of 5 running back that was a finalist? Or how many of them in the last 20 years? Come on, guys, be real.
Yeah, and maybe hopefully in November we're if he can put up some huge numbers, maybe he go rushes for 200 against Oregon, whatever, it can be a different conversation. But in May, late April, I tend to agree with you on a lot of that. There was a reason of Circus Sports, our sponsor, people were kind of ticked off. They didn't even have him listed as one of the choices for the Heisman when they came out with their initial list. He wasn't even on there.
Yeah, and they listed like 100 names too. That's an oversight. If you're giving me a list of off-season Heisman candidates this time of year, and you're giving me 100 names and he's not on it, that's clearly an oversight. But
they had Malachi Nelson on there.
That's right, they did. I saw Malachi Nelson on there. Of course, that's all based on the recruiting hype. So
yeah. Final thing, Mike Prater, though. Okay, we think somewhere round 1 through 7, we expect that Ashton Genty should get drafted next year. I gave you like 3 days, tons of hours, so much time to research this before the show. But anybody else has a shot to get drafted? When you take a quick look at the roster for next year, who are the NFL draft picks or guys that also could get drafted next year? Are there any?
Oh, probably not. Probably not. That number might be 0. I mean, there's certainly some potential stuff, but come on. I mean, the punter and the kicker are going to get some kind of NFL shot, but I believe there were 3 kickers taken and 1 punter taken in this year's draft. And Jonah will certainly be one of the top kickers. James Ferguson Reynolds will certainly be one of the top punters, but I'm not going to sit here and predict a kicker or a punter are going to go in the NFL draft. So I'm going to go 0 there. Ashton Genty, 100%. Across the board, no. I mean, I like Cade Casey just because of the position that he plays and the history and the pedigree of Boise State, but he's only a sophomore. Yeah. So I'm not going to go there. Ty Benefield, I think, has got a beautiful career in front of him. I love everything about this guy, the attitude, the physicality. He checks the size boxes. He's tall, he's big, but he's also a sophomore. So I think we're looking at Ashton Genty next year. I think we're looking at a kicker and a punter going off into free agent land and trying to stick with the team and playing that battle at a very high level. And then I see a bunch of young kids probably having to wait 1 more year. I don't see any other NFL prospects for the 2025 draft on this year's roster.
I mean, just based on size alone, I would maybe say Prince Strawn would have a chance if he has a big season. And because of the pedigree of his family, I don't know, Marion McCoy or Jonathan Irby goes and has 7 or 8 picks this year. I don't know. I mean, I think there's some guys that would, with big years, could at least put themselves into the conversation, maybe. But I don't think there's any other probably surefire draft picks right now other than Ashton Genty.
I would agree with that. Irby might, that's a good name to throw out there. And he's certainly, in the last 6 weeks, really caught our attention. He's gone from 0 to 100 miles an hour. And if he continues that trajectory, that's pretty spectacular. But he's got 2 more years of eligibility. He'll be draft eligible after this coming year, but he's got 2 years of eligibility in front of him. We'll see how that develops. Strawn, yeah. I mean, I see it. I see the potential there, but I see very raw potential, a young kid. He's going to get great coaching from Miller and Cutter, and his rise is going to be fantastic. He's going to, I think we're looking at 2 more years. This kid, I don't see him exploding because 1, this is going to be a run-heavy offense, and 2, the wide receiver room is packed, and I think it's going to be spread out with like 5 guys that are going to get 30 catches, and we're going to be dealing with that. But Prince Strawn is absolutely on my list. I just don't see it this next year.
3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk coming up with Prater, Johnny, Bob, JP, the whole crew. I know you guys are about to have your production meeting to fully lock in the show, but I assume it'll be a lot of NFL draft and some of the playoffs going on.
Yeah, a lot of NFL drafts. We're going to look at the pros and cons of this offseason for Boise State football. What are the 2 or 3 things that they can really lean on? What are the 2 or 3 things that they need to work on with these limited opportunities in the offseason? So we'll take a look at that, the draft, Boise State football, some of this other stuff going on. And it's a collision of seasons, but we're still talking a little football.
And I know Perry came in late. One final quote here. He's asking how much more time does Rice have to fill out the roster? As much time as he wants. I guess the first day of class in August, really. I mean, the transfer portal closes tomorrow at midnight. I don't know if that's Eastern time. I assume it's probably Eastern time, so 10 p.m. out here. But you do not have to pick a new school. You just have to tell the NCAA you're entering the portal. And Boise State will still have visitors the next couple of weeks. And I bet you maybe they're one of their spots might not be filled till June. Who knows? There's still over 1,000, like 1,500 players like out there without schools. So there's a lot of good players, a lot of opportunity, and we'll, hold judgment, at least I will, for what this roster looks like till there's actually a full roster to look at moving forward.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind, too, everything you said about that is true with basketball, but the football transfer portal mirrors that. So football, Boise State, if you're a fan, you've got 36 hours to hang on if you're going to lose any more. So I don't think they're going to lose any more football players at this point, but tomorrow at 10 o'clock, midnight, whatever that number is, that's also the deadline to enter the portal if you're a football player. And I know Boise State football fans have been holding on and hoping that they don't lose any significant players. I think they're going to be okay. But you know what? If one name crops up over these next 36 hours, that wouldn't surprise us.
And this is the last, literally the last day or two where players are having those final conversations with their families, final conversations with their coaches about their status on the roster and playing time for next year. And you always get some surprises. And again, I don't think Boise State, I didn't get a chance because we're out of time to ask you about CJ Tiller, but I don't think anybody that was paying attention thought that was a big surprise, a third string quarterback. So to this point, they really haven't lost anybody that was supposed to make an impact, at least on this 2024 team. And we'll see in the next 36, 39 hours, whatever it is, if they can hang on to that. So Prater, thank you as always for your time on Mondays. Looking forward to that next Prater column. Appreciate JP for helping get us on the air here as well. And we'll be listening 3 to 6 today with the crew there on Idaho Sports Talk, 95.3 FM, 1350 AM, KTIK.com, all the ways you can find their show. And then Jay Tust and I will be back 9 a.m. tomorrow. If news breaks, we'll have it covered. BroncoNationNews.com. We appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your Monday. And we'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com.